Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to a NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift_NoDQ. I have your questions today from twitter.com/AaronRift, so let's get started. First one today comes from Mr. Yuck, longtime question submitter. Besides breaking the title record, what is left for Cena upon his return? Cena Taker 2? Strowman? Cena reigns at WrestleMania 35? Not many interesting stories or feuds left for him. Cena versus Hogan? LOL. I still think there are a few big matches left for Big Match John, and besides the obvious ones that you mentioned, I do like Strowman because I don't recall John Cena versus Braun Strowman. Maybe they did fight and I'm just forgetting it. I'd like to see John Cena versus Samoa Joe. That is one match I would like to see that we haven't seen yet. I remember there was the start of a build towards that. Actually, twice WWE tried to get that storyline going, and then Joe got hurt and plans had to change. So I'm hoping at some point we will see John Cena versus Samoa Joe. But yeah, I definitely expect him to go for that 17th world title, regardless of which championship it is, regardless of which brand. I think he'll be going for it. Hopefully it's not Cena versus Lesnar again. That would just be weak in my opinion. I want to see John Cena against somebody we haven't seen before. That's why I like the idea of Samoa Joe. Maybe we'll get Cena versus AJ Styles again. Maybe somebody who's on the rise will face John Cena at some point. But yeah, Samoa Joe would be my personal top pick right now. And there's a few other guys. Maybe Reigns, maybe Strowman, and then just call it a career. Win the 17th title and go off into the sunset. This one comes from the Soggy Sausage. I like that username. Hey Aaron, one simple question. Who would you say sells better, Roman Reigns or John Cena? The word sell means more than one thing. So what are you specifically talking about? Are you talking about how people sell moves or people selling merchandise? I think to answer both of those, though, I would go with John Cena. John Cena has been one of the biggest merchandise sellers in the company for many years, perhaps the biggest one all the way back to Steve Austin. As far as selling moves, that is more objective. There are different opinions on that. Some might say Roman Reigns sells better. Some might say John Cena, but a lot of the time I think it's tough to call because you have two guys that are basically doing what WWE tells them to do. If John Cena is told to go out there and be Superman and don't sell, then that is what Cena is going to do. And the same goes for Reigns. But based off of what I've seen when they do sell, I would go with John Cena. I think John Cena has developed himself into one of the top tier WWE superstars in history, and I think he's really solid at everything he does. I know some people say, well, he's not that great of a wrestler, but I think Cena has sold very well in many matches when he's actually in a position to do so. There's always that time where he's going to make the Superman comeback and no-sell moves. But when he does sell, I think he does a really solid job of it. I think back to when CM Punk did the pipe bomb. You look at John Cena there in the ring, and he was just there totally wiped out and just not only selling the beatdown, but also selling what CM Punk was saying. So there's different ways to sell too, not just the moves, but also selling somebody else's promo and reacting to it. I think Cena's one of the best. Next one comes from James. Hey Aaron, is Evolution the best opportunity to have the UFC Horsewomen versus the WWE Horsewomen? Not necessarily. I think that match is best off with some actual build towards it. You could potentially do an angle at that show. First of all, I think it's better off at Survivor Series than that pay-per-view. I did touch upon this on NoDQ Live, and I'll go ahead and say it again. I think this pay-per-view should be 3 hours tops. I don't think it should be longer. You obviously have the championship matches, maybe the introduction of tag team titles for the women. maybe a Legends Battle Royal, maybe a Legends match, and that's it. 5-6 matches, a match between the MMA Horsewomen and the WWE Horsewomen. I think that would just take up too much time and make it too long of a show. I'd rather they do an angle and set up Survivor Series, but Ronda Rousey's crew, I think you need to also establish them with the WWE Universe, and I think that will take some time. Maybe not even this year's Survivor Series will be enough time. Perhaps they're better off waiting another year to do that big match. I think it will happen at some point, but the question is, when is the right time? I think you really need to build up Ronda's side. You already have the WWE side built up, but you got to establish the team on Rousey's side, and I think Shayna Baszler has some development, but she hasn't been introduced yet to the main roster and the casual fans. So it's all going to take time, and I feel that doing it at the Evolution pay-per-view and even Survivor Series might be too soon. Got this one here from Garrett Mills. And he's asking about Carmella versus Becky Lynch. I think he sent this question before SmackDown. Do you think Becky will win at SummerSlam? And if not, who do you think beats Carmella and when? I think if Carmella wins, she'll lose to Charlotte at Survivor Series. That is a good prediction. If Becky Lynch doesn't win it, I think Charlotte is the most likely candidate. But let me make it clear, I would like to see Becky beat Carmella. I think the Carmella experiment is over. I think it's time to put the title on somebody who has some credibility. Nothing against Carmella, but she just comes off like a fluke champion. That's how she's been booked. I think Becky Lynch has been perhaps the biggest underdog in WWE as far as not really getting the big push. And I feel like she's one of the most underrated performers in WWE. She gets great crowd reactions, but it seems like WWE really doesn't want to pull the trigger on her for whatever reason. But I'd like to see her get it, and then maybe she loses to Charlotte at Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, and then you could potentially set up Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey for WrestleMania. This one comes from Jason Bush. When Dean Ambrose does turn heel, how far do you think WWE will let him go with the character? Will they let Dean act like a true lunatic we know he can be? I have serious doubts. You're not the only one. First of all, I'm not even going to hold my breath over the idea that WWE might actually turn Dean Ambrose, period. I have this feeling he'll come back, he'll be a babyface, and he'll just stay the same character he has been. I would like to see some, not to steal the phrase from the women, or Triple H for that matter, I'd like to see an evolution in Dean Ambrose's character. I don't want to see him do the same exact thing he was doing before. Look at Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has evolved, changed his character when he came back from breaks. Ambrose will be coming back from about a 9-month break. I think it's time to change up his character. With that being said, I don't have a lot of confidence that WWE will do it right. If they do turn him heel, my fear is they'll still somehow screw it up. I'd like to see Ambrose go that Brian Pillman route and just become a real, true lunatic who is out of control, unpredictable, and just downright scary. That's what I would like to see. Will WWE go all the way with it? Like you said, serious doubts, but we can always hope, right? Got this one here from Smurtaza A. Shah. If you remember, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens was rumored for Hell in a Cell. Could this be a sign that Kevin Owens is beating Braun Strowman and cashing it in later? As this could be a way to start their feud, which I'm not looking forward to. This feud is a garbage. Roman Reigns is a garbage. WWE is a garbage. All right. Well, clearly you think it's all garbage. So regarding Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman, that's what it feels like to me. This stipulation where Owens can win the Money in the Bank contract by DQ or countout certainly seems like this could be the direction, and Owens cashing in and doing it the cheap heel way makes a lot of sense and makes more sense than Strowman doing it. So yeah, I think that it could work out. This could be where WWE is going. But of course, as I mentioned on NoDQ Live, I do have my issues with Braun Strowman in general being the Money in the Bank contract holder, and the big logic hole here. He has the Money in the Bank contract. Brock Lesnar is the champion. Why not just cash it in on Lesnar before SummerSlam, before he risks losing the contract? But either way, hopefully WWE explains everything and has it make sense. Not getting my hopes up on that, but it would be nice. And then maybe at SummerSlam we'll see some sort of screw job finish where Owens gets the contract and then cashes it in, probably on Roman Reigns, after Reigns finally beats Brock Lesnar, and then the fans go home happy because Owens won, and then you set up Hell in a Cell. Got this one here from Arthur. If you could change one thing about the women's division, what would it be? Well, I think that this would apply to pretty much every division of WWE. I would change the writing, and this is across the board. I feel like the writing with the women's division is fairly weak. Look at Sasha Banks and Bayley, where it seems like the creative team doesn't really know what they're doing here. The story keeps going in different directions, and you think it's going one way, and then it goes a different way. But what's the end result of all this? I wonder if the creative team even knows what the end result is. That's the number one thing. And another thing, again, across the board, I say merge some of the titles. Merge the Raw and SmackDown women's title, and then you can introduce the women's tag team titles and not have too many titles. I just think there are too many titles, and that, again, is an issue I have across the board. Got this one here from They See Me Rollins. Why would WWE sabotage Styles versus Nakamura? Wouldn't they let them have a 5-star classic and brag about their match being better than the New Japan one? Your guess is as good as mine. I think a lot of us were really disappointed with that WrestleMania match. I think a lot of us were hoping that those two were going to be allowed to have the best match possible and try and top the New Japan matches and steal the show. But, of course, if you do that, then there's more attention on that and less on Roman Reigns. So I do get this feeling that they were purposely told to hold back a bit. And, of course, their TV matches were better. Their pay-per-view match at Money in the Bank was better. The WrestleMania match just felt like they were not at 100% capacity as to what they could do. And I think that that's really disappointing. I think a lot of fans are disappointed. You would think that the WWE title match would have center stage and would be given the appropriate spotlight, but it was just a match on the show. It really wasn't deemed that important, despite the fact that Nakamura won not Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, excuse me. He won Royal Rumble, and you would think that this would be a much bigger deal than it ended up being. But when it was all said and done, it felt like the 4th or 5th most important match on the show, and somewhere in the middle, and that's basically what it was. Got this one here from Liam. If SmackDown Live goes to 3 hours after 1,000, should WWE copy the Nitro method and have the first hour dedicated to cruiserweights on 205 Live? 205 Live has great talent, and having them on SmackDown would be better exposure. Your thoughts? I believe 205 Live was part of Raw, but WWE could just ignore that and say SmackDown acquired the rights to the Cruiserweight division. But I'm not sure where you got this idea that the first hour of Nitro was a Cruiserweight hour. There was an hour of Nitro back in 1999 where they showed nothing but promos. And the week after that, the first hour of Nitro tanked, and it never really recovered after that because the fans were conditioned to believe that the first hour of Nitro was not important and that WCW only focused on the later 2 hours because it was up against Raw. Now, that was a different era. Now, maybe it would work, but I could see them if the first hour of SmackDown... First of all, I'm not a fan of 3-hour SmackDowns, but if SmackDown was 3 hours and they made the first hour all about the Cruiserweights, I think you would have a significantly lower rating. I think it's best if you're going to reintroduce 205 Live on Raw or SmackDown, just do what you did before and just mix it in with the rest of the stuff. But if you tell the audience, hey, this first hour is all cruiserweight stuff, I think a lot of people will just not invest in it, and you won't really get that extra exposure. It'll just mainly be the same people that would be watching anyways. That'll do it for this edition of No DQ Video. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, please share this video with a friend. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding SummerSlam. And if you're in Los Angeles, or you will be for Survivor Series weekend, come join us for the NoDQ.com 20-year anniversary meetup over at NoDQ.com/LA. You can RSVP for the event. And that's all I got for this one. I will see you guys next time for more No DQ Video.